All right, guys. Thank you so much for letting me know if you're a 1099 W-2 employee. A lot of people said both. Today, we're going to be talking to our partners, Bill, and talking about how Bill's AI streamlines fund accounting, insights, and 1099. So, my name is Aretha Simons. Many of you have seen me before. I'm going to show you how you can engage today on today's webinar. Here on the next slide. This is being recorded. You will get the I'm going to say slides. No, you're going to get a demo today. Isn't that fun? I love demos because you get the real action Jackson here today. So you're going to get the video replay later today or early in the morning. If you need closed captions, click on that CC button. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A, but I know put them in the chat. We'll be able to grab them. I'm going to move out of the way and turn it over to our partners from Bill. Michael and Stephen here is going to take us further, and they're going to tell you more about themselves. Welcome to you both. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Aretha. Hey, everyone. My name is Michael. I'm one of our partner managers here at Bill. I'm excited to be partnering with TechSoup to help nonprofits streamline their financial operations. Definitely want to introduce my colleague, Stephen, over here. Stephen, if you want to make an introduction and take it away.
Yep. So my name is Stephen Herzig, and I'm part of the solutions consulting team here at Bill. So basically, the technical guy that you talk to if you're looking to use Bill and you have an integration that you want to manage with NetSuite or Sage Intacct. I'm based out of Northwest Arkansas, so a little bit off the beaten path out here. We actually ended up with a foot and a half of snow this weekend, so it's a little unusual for us down here in Arkansas. So still thawing out a little bit from that here. But today, what I want to talk to you all about is a little bit about how Bill has launched some new product features that are really helping non-for-profit organizations. Traditionally, they're using traditional fund accounting. They have grants. They have different classes, departments that they really need to code bills to make sure that they can report on those. So I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the new advances that we've made that should be able to make your life a lot easier whenever you're entering and coding your bills, whenever you're processing, 1099s. So that's really going to be kind of the main focus today. And as we go through this today, I am going to try and keep my eye on the chat the best I can. Michael's also going to be keeping an eye on there. So please feel free to just drop your questions there in the chat. I would love to hear from you all. I do this all the time, and I actually do get tired of listening to myself talk. So sometimes it's nice to get some feedback from you to let me know that you're still out there listening. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I wanted to walk you through, this is probably my new favorite feature of the Bill product. And this was actually just rolled out this month. So I'm going to kind of walk you through some scenarios here. What this is called our invoice capture agent. So this is an AI tool that can be used to automatically enter and code your bills depending on multiple different criteria there. So what I'm going to do here is first thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you this invoice here. This is from Todd, the music guy. And just so you know, I'm a musician myself, so this is kind of something that I put together an example here, and I love it, guitars, instruments of any kind. So, but as this invoice gets processed here, the OCR automatically extracts the vendor name, the invoice number, the invoice date, the due date, and the total amount from the document. But what we've changed at Bill is we actually can bring in and pre-fill the line items for you from the actual invoice now. So what we're reading that description and that amount for that Martin D28, that Mesa Boogie dual rectifier here, and we're bringing that into the description as well as the amounts for that line item. And then we're pre-coding that to a GL account based on the previous bills I've entered in for that vendor. We've entered the music department here. But what we've also, the AI also recognizes that there's a freight item here that needs to be coded to the freight GL. So we bring in that description and the amount, we code that to the freight GL, we grab that to a separate department, a separate location there. And then that stocking fee down here has been coded to an office and general administrative expense. So in a nutshell, what's happening here is the AI is bringing in that data and then pre-coding that based on the previous bills. So you would be training the AI per vendor how to enter and code those bills. And then you just push create bill, which would route that sequentially to the list of approvers that you've set. within the system here. So you just create that bill and it's routed to Noel here for him to approve that. So now I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to show you a different example here. So this is a medical invoice here from Saros Medical. I'm going to enter this bill in. Again, the OCR reads the vendor name, invoice number, invoice date, the due date, and the total amount. But on this invoice, this is more of a consolidated invoice. So the AI has been trained to break this down by diagnostic services and medical supplies. So we bring that description in for the medical supplies. We bring that description in for the diagnostic services here. But then we also bring in that subtotal from the diagnostic services, and we bring in the subtotal for the medical supplies. And then we pre-code that to an inventory asset and then these consulting services here, pre-coding that department, that location there. So this has basically been trained to consolidate these types of invoices into two different lines here, to two different GLs. So again, you could train the AI based on how those bills are, and then it's going to recognize how you've coded the previous bills, and then the future bills will be coded very similarly. Now we're going to show you one more example here. One of the things I've seen that's very common with non-for-profits is the concept of an allocation, where you say, whenever a bill comes in, I want to split this 5 ways, or I want to split this, 15% to this team, 10% to that team. So whenever this comes in, this is from an electrical contractor here named Electrical Jimmy. The OCR extracts the data. But what I've trained the AI to do is to split this evenly between 5 departments. So let's say, Electrical Jimmy had to show up, he had to do some work on the building, but the company has a policy in place saying that every time we have a building expense, we split that between the 5 different departments of our organization. So it's automatically taken that amount, divided it by 5, split it 5 ways, and then all future bills come through, that it'll split them automatically equally 5 ways between those 5 different departments here. So where this is incredibly helpful is whenever you think about grants or you think about how, whenever vendor bills come in, you might have a preset way where you kind of envision that this every time a bill comes in from that vendor, it's going to need to be split either between departments or classes. Sometimes people use projects or jobs for tracking grants. So it would also automatically split across those jobs, or if you had multiple locations, it'll automatically split between those locations. So again, this is a new feature for the bill system, and the AI will learn and then automatically code those bills based on how those previous bills have been entered in there. Why is this important for non-for-profits? Well, of course, it's important for non-for-profits because non-for-profits, in my experience, they are splitting and coding and using grants in different departments to make sure that they allocate those correctly across those different teams within the organization there. Okay, so now we've kind of walked through that invoice capture agent. I wanted to walk a little bit through how we would route those bills. So whenever you automatically split those bills, you might want to say every time a bill that comes through, and we're going to allocate a portion of it to marketing, well, that needs to get approved by Alan. So whenever the department is coded to the marketing team there, Alan needs to approve that bill. I could also say, if it comes through and that line item that is coded to marketing is greater than or equal to $1,500, then Alan has to approve it. So you can really set up as many of these approvals as you needed to on the bills, so that anytime a bill comes in coded to whatever criteria, you could do this by the total amount, the line item, the department, a project or a job, a class, a GL account there. You could just automatically route that. So whenever the AI comes in, splits it between 5 departments, you can see that we're automatically assigning 2 approvers to that bill as required by that bill approval policy. So using these in tandem, it's really nice because it can auto split, auto route for all of those bills, eliminating those manual data entry tasks for your team, and then also making sure that it's going to be routed through the correct approval chains before ultimately you pay that bill with our system here. So again, that's one of my favorite new features there. So I wanted to start off by highlighting that. I know that we mentioned 1099s as another big piece. So I wanted to walk through kind of some of the advances that Bill has set up with how we collect those W-9s from your vendors. We have a new tool here, and it's called the W-9 agent. Whenever you turn this on for the bill account, what we're going to do is you can set a limit of how many emails and you can set the frequency with which we will actually send those emails out. So I could say I want to send out 10 of these every week until they submit it. I could say I want to send it out every month until they submit their W-9, maybe for 6 months. And what that's going to do is that is actually going to generate an email to your vendor. So if you flag them as 1099 in our system, let's say you had 100 of them, 1,000 of them, 10 of them, however many you had, the AI agent will be activated and it'll automatically start emailing those vendors basically saying, upload your form W-9 here on behalf of, your company name. But what it's also going to do is once they have actually submitted that, the AI agent is going to proactively review that W-9 for you. So it's going to let you know they didn't fill out their social security number. They didn't put an EIN in there. They didn't sign the document. So you could come in and it would review these. You could see here, they didn't fill out a city or a state on the W-9. So the AI agent reviews those saying that is required. You need to resubmit the W-9, including all of that pertinent information there. So the AI agent, you turn it on, it collects those W-9s for you automatically, reviews them, provides that proactive feedback. But once they're actually finalized and have completed the W-9 here, what you're going to see on the bill side is you're going to see within the vendor profile, I have two W-9s ready to review here. So I could go through here and I could see, yep, this one looks good. They filled it out. The AI agent didn't catch anything as well. So let's go ahead and save and exit that, or we can go ahead and save that W-9. So you can actually review those as those come through. You could see here, we were unable to fact check their EIN. So the EIN, that does not look like it's a valid EIN there. So you also get that feedback on your side. So if you really needed to get this W-9, your team could reach out and say, hey, we have this W-9 here. Is there any way you could just give us your most up-to-date EIN? And then we'll be done, squared away with that. And then we can keep, paying you out from the bill system as a 1099 contractor. And then you can manage all of that. You can also see here, this is where you would flag that is whether or not they would be entered into that flow to be notified about the W-9s. You could see who's in the network here. And then anytime I wanted to come into one of these, I could click into a vendor, I could see the tax documents, and I could see that active W-9 within their system. So it's going to be tracked and logged within the vendor profile after they submit that there.
Hey, Stephen,
Yep.
just quick pause. I had a few questions.
Mhm.
Kind of maybe from the top, Damon is curious about the approval process. How is the approval documented? And does the approval end up being documented on the QuickBooks side on the integration?
Yep. So Damon, to answer your question there, so as far as the approvals, whenever those approvals are routed, I could come in here and I could see that I can approve this bill, I can approve it, deny it, but then there's going to be this audit trail for each individual bill as well. So whenever that bill goes through there and it's routed to the individual approvers, every time they approve it, deny it, edit the bill in any way, all of that's going to be logged in the audit trail for each individual bill record there. So what that looks like on the QuickBooks side is, we wouldn't sync the audit trail back, but we would sync the status of the bill back. So as the bill was entered in, it would be routed for approvals. And then once it was approved, it would sync back, update that within QuickBooks Online, and basically say that that bill was fully approved. So it would update the status of the bill, not necessarily the audit trail. But if I was coming in here to approve a bill, and I could also deny it. And if I denied that bill, let's say because there was some sort of entry there, I could just tag somebody on my team, say I am denying this because we aren't ready to pay it for some reason, and I click deny. So as the approver, I can deny it, but then the administrator would see that they have two denied bills here. And then they would be able to click into those and see, okay, what's going on here? It looks like there wasn't a document. They uploaded the document, so that one should be good to go. Let's take a look at this other one. Okay, this one doesn't have a document here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload that. I'm going to edit and reassign this bill, and then that would reroute it for approval. So the approvers could edit the bill if they have that ability. We don't, recommend giving the approvers the ability to edit. We recommend they just deny it, reroute that so that you could fix any issues on that bill. And then one of the nicest features here from the approval side is that we find about 80 to 90% of the approvals that go through bill they just download our mobile application and they can click in and they can see that invoice. They can deny or approve it. So they have a kind of a very easy, streamlined way through the mobile application to approve those bills. But again, every single one of those bills is going to have that auditability factor through that audit trail there.
Perfect. Thank you, Stephen. I might as well just go. We have three more. Jennifer is asking on the limit again for the W-9s. Are you saying that sending 5 remainder emails a week if the number is 5
So it'd be one weekly
reminders?
email, 5 weekly emails. That's kind of what that is saying. So you could do 5 weekly emails, 5 monthly emails. So you could structure that however you wanted to, but it would be every week or every month, whatever cadence you wanted, and you could set that limit at 2 or 5 or 10. But it would be per week or per month. So basically, you'd say one per week, one per month. That's what delineating there, Jennifer.
Yeah. So thanks, Stephen. And then Anne asks, or Valerie asks, is this system compatible in Mexico?
So as of right now, we are onboarding Canadian and UK vendors. We are looking to be able to add vendors from Mexico or customers from Mexico. So our system does assume a base currency of US dollars right now. We're adding where we can do it in CAD or we can do it in the pound. So that is something that is coming here very soon. Mexico is on the slate, but we probably won't be supporting Mexico before the end of our fiscal year, which is July this year. That may be something that's being pushed into next quarter or next year, maybe in the November, December timeframe, from what I've heard. But currently we don't. And then you'd be able to then potentially you'd be able to add a Mexican entity sometime down that in that time frame.
Yep. Thanks, Stephen. And then one more. Anne asked, which is a great question, is like, why would we need their W-9s?
So the reason you would use those is that you can come in and you can actually prep and file the 1099s from the bill side. So this would be for your 1099 vendors, right? Your non-W2, right? The ones that are actually contractors that are being paid out like a contractor. But what's really neat about this is whenever you're doing this, you can come through in real time, see every bill, every expense paid to that vendor throughout the course of the year. And so you could see kind of that balance here. And you could see what's excluded from reporting on the W-9 here. You can categorize all of this individual income in real time or at the end of the year whenever you're ready to file. So the reason you collect the W-9 with bill is so that you can actually prep and file the 1099 directly with the IRS from the bill account there.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Stephen. And then, Stephen, one more question from Damon. During implementation, can Bill learn from coding history or do they have to start from scratch?
You would be starting from scratch if you had a new bill account, and you'd be training the AI agent on how to enter and code your bills. So the first one would be a manual process, and then the subsequent bills would be auto-coded based on those previous bills there. But yeah, we don't take any like historical, like if you'd enter bills in QuickBooks or Sage Intacct or another system, we don't look at the legacy bills. We only look at the bills that have been entered and coded in the bill system there.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thanks, Stephen. Great questions.
The AI agent, Jennifer, to your question, it has to be activated. So that's where you go into the settings here, and you can activate it by going into your payable settings, W-9 agent here, and then you just turn it on. I already have it turned on, but you would just turn it on. And then basically every single new vendor that you flag as 1099 would enter into that cadence unless they have an active W-9 in the vendor profile already. Does the AI agent need to be? Oh, the bill capture. So yeah, that's a great question, Jennifer. If you are an active customer right now with Bill, you can actually request to have this turned on. We are rolling this out right now. So I think we're at 25% of our current customers have this enabled and turned on. We're rolling it out, in phases from 5%, 10%, 20%, kind of like that. So if you don't have it activated in your bill account, you could feel free to shoot out an email or just follow up on the TechSoup call to action at the end of the call, and we can help you get that turned on. Or you could just email me direct. And if you did have questions about that specifically, if you are a current customer, I'll drop my email in the chat. And maybe Michael, you could also drop
Yep.
yours so that they have that. But if that's all you need is just to be able to make sure that the AI agent gets turned on, you could send us an email and we could get your org ID and we could get you live on that. So. Okay, so I want one more thing I wanted to cover here today.
Sorry, real quick,
Oh,
Stephen. I just have 2 questions. Last one, I just looked on the Q&A. What tools does Bill have to automatically integrate with Lyft, DoorDash, Uber, Instacart, so team streamline compliance with automated receipts?
Yep. So we do have a spend and expense product, which we may not have time to cover today. But we actually have a new tool where you can actually automatically bring in your Uber and Lyft receipts whenever you're traveling, and that'll actually bring in the receipts automatically into Spend and Expense. So that is actually a new feature we rolled out there in about 2 or 3 months ago. If you have more questions about that, I can provide some more information. Probably don't have enough time today to go through that entire flow, but that is something that is actually just recently released, is to automatically bring in those emails, the receipts from those emails as those come through. So that is going to be a new feature that we have available as well.
Great. And sorry, the last one, Stephen, is Joe asked, one thing we found is Bill does not reduce the totals on 1099 report by the amount of credits. Will that be corrected?
Does not reduce the totals. Say it one more time. The totals on.
The totals on 1099 report by the amount of credits.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that is a great question. I have heard that complaint from a couple customers. That would be another one. If you want to email me directly about that, I can check in with the product team and see where that current kind of quick fix is coming, and see kind of, because I know that that had been a complaint that some other customers had logged on that specific product feature. So if you wanted to, I could follow up on that and just shoot me an email, shoot me and Michael an email, and I can check with our product team to kind of let you know what the current state of that feature is. So that's a good question as well. Okay, so one other thing I wanted to show you, and this is kind of a big feature for non-for-profits here. So whenever you're fundraising from a non-for-profit, Bill's accounts receivable feature really expected you to have an invoice, send out an invoice, and then the collect payment, which obviously, as you know, from a fundraising perspective, isn't necessarily the ideal flow to get people to submit their funds for those donations that they wanted to make. So what we offer now is what we call a payment link, where you can create a payment link. So let's say you were doing a fundraiser for your organization. I would just come here and say, I'm going to do fundraiser. And then we'll say, well, we just want to do like a $20 amount here. So I'm just going to say, I want to do a fixed amount. And then anybody can come to this payment link, and they could make a one-time donation. All that here. And then they would see a link preview like this, where they could come in and they could actually submit a payment via a bank account or a credit card for a one-time donation of $20. And anybody could make that. Anybody that has access to that payment link could come in and donate that fixed amount. Or you could even set it up to where they just make one-time donation and they can choose their own amount. You could add custom fields to that as well, so that you could categorize these as these come through, so that if you wanted to have a one payment link, but you wanted to categorize those based on donation avenue A or donation avenue B, you could set those up with custom fields to split those out. But this is kind of a new feature that a lot of our non-for-profit customers have requested, is they really want to be able to enable their customers to make a payment without having to actually generate an invoice and ask them. And yeah, the Elena there, the question, awesome. Can we integrate that into our website? You should be able to embed that. I would have to double check if we actually generate like the HTML, so you could actually embed it in the website, or if you just wanted to put the link there. But that should absolutely be something you'd be able to do, is actually put that link on your website there. So I believe we're getting ready to add an iframe, which would make it a little bit more embeddable from that perspective of actually putting it in your website. That is something that we're currently working on as well. I'm not exactly sure on the date when that's going to be available. So, yep. And Alina's saying, I can't wait to see the fee schedule on that. Yep, yep. Yeah, so that's just going to be a standard ACH fee. And then whenever you're doing this, you can also change and then have it set up to where if the customer is making a donation via credit card, they would just, if they made a $20 donation, then we would just add an additional amount and they would cover the credit card surcharge. But if it was an ACH, we do charge you a 59 cents for that transaction there. So, okay. So any other questions there? All right. So, I did want to show you one other thing here since we have a couple minutes left here. So one of the things I've heard come up a lot with non-for-profits is a lot of non-for-profits are moving towards having pre-approvals before the invoice comes in, before a spend. So we have a lightweight procurement tool where you can use Bill to have those pre-approvals in place. So for example, I could come in here and I could say, I want to have a frozen custard party here. Actually, Bill's Frozen Custard was my Uncle Bill's frozen custard stand in high school. So I always use that for my examples. I actually worked there for 4 years. But let's say we're going to have them come in. It's going to be about $1,500 to throw this frozen custard party. Just throw a custard party description in there. And I want to pre-code that and say, this is going to come from the catering team here at the Austin location. We want to code that to, the catering class here. And you could see that's automatically routed just like our bills are for approval. I could upload like an estimate from Bill's Frozen Custard here and then submit that so that somebody would have to approve that. And this chain would be Guggen, then Brad, then Jay, then myself, right? So I could submit that for approval. And then whenever that gets approved, that actually generates a PO, and I could actually send that PO to Bill's Frozen Custard if I wanted to. So if I come in here, I'm going to filter this down. Let's add a filter. We'll say the vendor is Bill's Frozen Custard. I want to see any of his open POs. Apply that. Okay, so then I could come in here and say, I want to send that actually send that to Bill's Frozen Custard. And then whenever you actually receive the invoice for that, what you would do is you would take that invoice and you would connect it to the purchase order so you could have a paper trail of that pre-approval on spend. So again, whenever you come in to enter that bill, if that PO number's on the invoice, then we would show you those expenses and the items from the PO, and those would be pre-coded to a location, a department, however you entered that purchase request in. So then it would keep and maintain all of that coding as you actually build against that purchase order, which again is that pre-approval for the spend on the non-for-profit side there. So, okay. Couple
Think
questions here. Does it integrate with Blackbaud, Razor's Edge for donations? No, we do not. We do not currently sync with Blackbaud, so that would not be, a current sync. We do a CSV import export, and we also have an open API. So if you had the developer resources internally, we can actually work with you on kind of setting that up via API, but we don't have an out-of-the-box Blackbaud integration yet. We are working on a Blackbaud sync though, from what I've heard. So that's something that could be coming down the road there. Okay, so I wanted to give everybody, a few moments here to kind of collect their thoughts here as we kind of wrap up today. Did anybody else have any other questions? Feel free to drop them in the chat. But with that, I'll go ahead and pass back to Michael and the rest of my team, and we can chat through kind of what this would look like if you wanted to potentially set up some time to chat with Bill.
Yeah, Damon, thank you so much for the in-depth overview of Bill. Damon, we can mail checks specifically. Bill can send physical checks on that side. To answer your question, Renee, the TechSoup discount is only for new Bill customers today on that side. And for anyone that is not a TechSoup member today, to access the discount of Bill, you need to be a TechSoup member. So feel free to reach out to your TechSoup resource, either Aretha or Haley. But thank you so much for having us today. Does anybody have any other questions before we wrap up? All right. Well, again, everyone, thank you so much for the time. Stay warm if you're in the Northeast like I am. And Haley and Aretha, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you too.